The chosen one, what God is preparing for your family, is not what you think. Chosen one, stop right here. It is no accident that you are hearing these words. Not a coincidence. Not just another careless scroll across your screen. This is an appointment that has already been arranged. If you've been waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning over the past few nights without knowing why, it isn't random. Something deep within you recognized it before your mind could even find words for it. Chosen one, I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video. Not with your intellect, not with the familiar skepticism that has so often pulled you away from the things that matter most, but with the deepest part of who you are, the part that has stayed awake through countless nights, choosing to believe even when everything around you kept whispering. Don't believe anymore. This is not another video meant to stir your emotions for 5 minutes before you move on. This is an invitation, and I need you to hear it all, because what I'm about to say isn't for everyone scrolling past this channel today. It's for you. There is a season in life that no one stops to applaud. Winter. No one walks past a leafless tree in the middle of January and says, "How beautiful! Look how it's growing." They only see a lifeless trunk standing in silence, as if it has already died. But the gardener knows something the passerby never sees. Beneath that frozen ground, the roots are growing deeper than they do in any other season of the year. Chosen one, this is your season. Not a season of stagnation, a season of preparation. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven." These are not empty words of comfort. They describe the very rhythm by which all creation moves. There is a season for planting. There is a season of waiting, in silence, in darkness, when nothing on the outside gives any evidence that anything is happening at all. And then there is the season of harvest. The season when everything that has been quietly growing finally breaks through the surface. The prophet Habakkuk, after pleading for a vision and receiving only prolonged silence, was given this answer: "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, it will not delay." Delayed by your calendar, perfectly on time by heavens. I want you to picture yourself exactly where you are right now. Maybe you've just pulled into your driveway, but haven't gotten out of the car yet. You're sitting there for a few extra minutes, alone, in that rare space between work and family. No one even knows those moments exist. Yet it is often in those quiet moments that a question rises inside you, a question you've never dared to speak aloud. God, have you forgotten me? Chosen one, hear me carefully. He has not forgotten you. He is preparing you, right there, in the very silence you have mistaken for emptiness. There is a kind of loneliness that almost no one ever talks about. It is the loneliness of believing by yourself in a home where everyone else is still filled with doubt. You pray while the person beside you sighs. You hold on to your faith while your children look at you as though you're clinging to something unrealistic. You stay up late with an open Bible while the rest of the house has long since gone to sleep. And no one knows you're there. No one knows what you're doing. No one knows what you're quietly carrying. Chosen one, this is not your misfortune. This is your calling. In Genesis, God called Abraham with a command so simple it was almost frightening. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." Notice something. God never told him where that land was. There was no map, no address, no timeline. Only one command: go. Abraham became the one who opened the way for generations yet to come. But on the night he left Ur, he had no idea. All he knew was that he was believing in something no one around him could yet believe. I remember a season in my own life when I found myself standing in that very place, believing something that no one around me believed. I don't share this story because I want you to think I'm special. I share it because I want you to know this lonely road. I've walked it. And I know exactly how heavy it can feel. There were mornings when I woke before everyone else, stood alone in the kitchen with both hands resting on the cold countertop, and whispered a prayer so quietly that I could barely hear it myself. Not because I thought God couldn't hear me, but because I was afraid that if I spoke any louder, I would have to confront my own weakness. The fear that perhaps I had placed my faith in something that would never come. Chosen one, if that's where you are today, if you're waking up early alone, praying alone, standing firm alone, then I need you to hear this. You are not alone because you are weak. You are alone because you are walking ahead. And those who walk ahead always travel a stretch of the road before anyone else can catch up. Before a family is healed, someone must choose to believe first. Someone must be willing to stand alone during the season when faith has no companion. Someone must be willing to be misunderstood, to be called weak, even to be labeled foolish, simply to keep the flame alive. Not because they need recognition, not because they need gratitude, but because some things survive only because one quiet soul refuses to let them die, even when no one is watching. If you find yourself standing alone in your kitchen again tonight, if you sit alone in your car, if you stay up late reading while no one even notices, remember what I just told you. The role of the one who goes first is never measured by how many people recognize it. It is measured by whether they remain faithful, even when no one is watching. Chosen one. If these words have spoken to your heart, leave a short comment below. Simply write, "I believe." Not so I can see it, but because there is power in confession. Something begins to move when you choose to speak your faith instead of keeping it buried inside. But there is another truth I need to tell you. Because if I only spoke about the honor of waiting without speaking about its pain, I would be lying to you. Chosen one. When waiting lasts too long, it no longer feels like faith. It begins to feel like abandonment. How many years have you been praying? 2, 5, 10? There are nights when the question is no longer, "Lord, when?" It becomes something far heavier. "Lord, have I been deceiving myself all along?" This is the very question the writer of the Psalms asked, not once, but over and over again. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Those are not the words of someone who lacked faith. They are the words of a king, a man whom God himself called a man after my own heart. Even David had nights when he felt forgotten. If David experienced nights like that, chosen one, then you are not alone in your doubts. I remember a season in my own life when I stood before the mirror every morning, wondering whether I was simply a fool for continuing to believe. Everyone around me had already given up. They had found other answers, other solutions, other roads to follow. But there I was, still praying, still waiting, still believing in something that even I was no longer certain would ever come. There were nights when my prayers felt as though they rose only as far as the ceiling before falling straight back down. I waited for a breakthrough that kept being postponed year after year, and through all those years, I had no idea, absolutely no idea, that something was being built for me, in a place my eyes could not yet see. It does not mean you are weak because you have doubts. It does not mean you lack faith because you are exhausted. It does not mean you have done something wrong simply because nothing seems to be changing. Chosen one, doubt is not evidence that your faith has disappeared. Doubt is evidence that your faith is being stretched to its very limit, like the string of a bow. The farther it is drawn back, the farther the arrow can fly. But while it is being stretched, it doesn't feel beautiful. It hurts. It wears you down. It makes you want to let go. How many times have you looked into the mirror and quietly asked yourself, "Am I holding on to something that will never come?" I'm not here to tell you that feeling is wrong. It's real. It is part of the journey that everyone who has truly believed in something, long enough and deeply enough, must eventually walk. But I also need to tell you something else, and I need you to hold on to it, even if your mind still wants to reject it. Feeling abandoned is not the same as actually being abandoned. Sometimes the distance you feel is not because God is far away. It's because He is doing a work so deep, so quiet, that it cannot yet be seen with human eyes. That truth may not immediately lessen your pain, but it gives your pain a purpose. And sometimes purpose is the very thing that keeps a person from letting go on the night they are closest to what they have been waiting for. Chosen one, don't let go tonight. I want to pause here for a moment. I'm not going to rush into comforting you, because there is a truth I believe you need to hear exactly as it is before we go any further. There are nights when you sit alone in your kitchen after everyone else has gone to bed. Most of the lights are off. Only the faint glow from the stove or the dim light of your phone lying face down on the table fills the room. You're holding a cup of tea that went cold long ago. Not because you're cold, but because you simply need something to hold. On the table, there may be an unpaid bill. There may be a text message you've read over and over, still unsure how to answer. Or perhaps it's simply the silence of the house, a silence heavier than any noise you've ever heard. The person you love is asleep in the next room, completely unaware that you're sitting there, alone, letting the tears fall without having to explain them to anyone. Chosen one, this is not a scene I've imagined just to make you emotional. This is the reality for countless people, perhaps even for you, right now. People carrying the weight of an entire family on their shoulders, yet having no one with whom they can set that burden down, not even for a single night. Psalm 42 says, "My tears have been my food day and night." Not once, day and night, continually. Those are the words of someone who is exhausted, not the words of someone enjoying a beautiful story about faith. Perhaps you've become used to smiling in front of everyone else. Perhaps you've become used to saying, "I'm fine," every time someone asks how you're doing. Perhaps you've carried everything by yourself for so long. You've forgotten what it feels like to have someone carry it with you. I'm not going to tell you that everything will be all right overnight. I'm not going to promise that if you wait just a little longer, the unpaid bill will somehow disappear, that broken relationship will suddenly heal itself, or that the pain will simply fade away. I won't promise you those things, because I don't have the authority to make those promises. But I can tell you something even more certain than any promise about your circumstances. You are not as alone as you think you are. Even tonight, there is something, or rather, there is someone sitting in that kitchen with you, even if you cannot feel his presence, not to instantly take the cold cup from your hands, not to make the unpaid bill disappear before you go to bed, but simply to remain there, with you, in the very moment you feel most abandoned. Psalm 56:8 declares, "You keep track of all my wanderings. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Have you not recorded each one in your book?" Every tear you've ever shed, alone in the darkness, has never been meaningless. Every tear has been seen. Every tear has been remembered, not to put your suffering on display, but to remind you of one profound truth. There has never been a single night when you were truly alone, no matter how real that loneliness felt. If tonight is one of those nights for you, I'm not going to tell you to cheer up. I'm not going to tell you to wipe away your tears and force a smile. I'm simply asking you to hear one thing. Very carefully. You are not as alone as you feel, even tonight. Now, chosen one, I want you to return to that picture we've been talking about. The cold cup of tea, the unpaid bill on the table, the night that no one else sees. But this time, look at it through different eyes. Jesus once said something that, at first, sounds almost like a paradox. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Before a seed becomes a flourishing plant, it passes through a stage that looks remarkably like death. It is buried in darkness, surrounded by everything that appears to be destroying it: soil, moisture, pressure. Yet it is in that darkness that its hard outer shell begins to crack, and its roots begin reaching downward. No one witnesses that process. No one stands beneath the soil watching a seed struggle. People only see the outcome when the first green shoot finally breaks through the ground. Chosen one, I want you to look back at everything we've just talked about concerning your nights, not as a list of failures, but as a trail of evidence. The unpaid bill is not proof that God has abandoned you. It is proof that you are still standing, even under crushing pressure. The sleepless nights are not proof that your faith has failed. They are proof that you keep choosing to believe, even when believing has become the hardest thing you do all day. The silence of your loved ones is not proof that you will always be alone. It is simply the space you have quietly filled with prayer. Instead of bitterness, you are not being abandoned. You are being rooted more deeply. What you have lived through has never been meaningless. Its meaning simply has not yet been revealed. God is not silent because he does not care. He is working at a depth that cannot be rushed. I remember a season in my own life when I looked back at everything I had once called failure, the opportunities I missed, the relationships that fell apart, the years I believed had been wasted. For the first time, I no longer saw them as wounds. I saw them as footprints leading me to the very place where I stand today. It wasn't a dramatic moment. It was a slow transformation in the way I told the story of my own life. Now, chosen one, I'd like to invite you to do something simple tonight after this video ends. Take a sheet of paper or open the Notes app on your phone. Write down one thing you've always considered your greatest failure, something you blamed yourself for, something you believed never would have happened if only you'd been stronger. Then read it again, but this time, read it as evidence of preparation, not proof of defeat. That may not change your circumstances overnight, but it will change the way you carry them. And sometimes, that is the very first thing that must change before anything else can. Chosen one, if you're willing to do this tonight, leave a short comment below. Simply write, "I am ready." Not to prove anything to anyone else, but so that you can see your own declaration written before your eyes. And now, chosen one, I need to tell you the most important truth in this entire video. Listen carefully. You are waiting for a breakthrough. I know you are. You're waiting for the debt to be paid. You're waiting for a broken relationship to be restored. You're waiting for healing. You're waiting for a phone call. You're waiting for a door to open after years of remaining closed. And I will never tell you that those things don't matter. They matter deeply. They are real wounds, real needs, real tears. But I need to tell you something that may surprise you. The first breakthrough you experience will most likely not appear in your bank account. It won't come in the form of a phone call bringing good news. It won't arrive as a number flashing across your phone screen. It won't come when someone finally walks through the door and offers the apology you've waited years to hear. The first breakthrough comes in a much quieter form. It comes tonight, when you lay your head on your pillow, and for the first time in many months, you finally fall asleep. Not because your circumstances have changed, but because something inside you has finally been laid down. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Notice something. God never tells you exactly what that new thing will be, nor does he give you a date you can circle on your calendar. He simply tells you this: something new is coming, and it is closer than you think. Chosen one, this is what I need you to hear, word by word. You do not need a miracle before you can believe. You need to believe first, so that you will recognize the miracle when it arrives. Your circumstances do not have to change before peace can enter your life. Peace comes first, giving you the strength to remain standing while your circumstances are still changing. You do not have to wait until everything becomes perfect before you are allowed to breathe again. You are allowed to exhale today, right here, right now, because this burden is no longer yours to carry alone. This is the moment. This is the moment you are allowed to set the burden down, even if only for one night. This is the moment you are allowed to believe that everything you have endured has not been meaningless. This is the moment you are allowed to feel, perhaps for the first time in a very long while, that you are no longer carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders by yourself. I still remember the night that happened to me. There was no blinding light, no thunderous voice, only a strange sense of relief that slowly spread through my chest as I finally whispered, "I don't have to carry this by myself anymore." And that night, for the first time in many months, I slept so deeply that when morning came, I couldn't even remember whether I had dreamed. Nothing around me changed that night, but everything inside me did. The greatest changes are not always the ones you can see immediately. Sometimes the greatest transformation happens within you first, and everything else, in time and in its own way, is rebuilt upon that new foundation. Chosen one, I cannot promise you a specific date for the changes you're hoping to see. I can't. And I shouldn't. But I can tell you this with complete confidence. The peace you've been searching for does not have to wait until your circumstances change. It can begin tonight. If these words have spoken to your heart, write, "I receive it," in the comments below, not as a ritual, but as a declaration that you choose to believe before the outward evidence appears. Now let me take you one step further, beyond yourself, and toward those who will come after you. Chosen one, everything you are enduring right now does not end with you. It is quietly shaping something far greater than you can possibly see from where you stand today. Psalm 78 says, "We will not hide these truths from their children. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, His power, and the wonders He has done." A legacy is being written right now, and you are one of the people holding the pen. Picture a family gathered around a dinner table, not in a luxurious home, not surrounded by expensive meals, just an ordinary table, with the people you love sitting around it. Laughter comes naturally. No tension, no forced smiles, none of the heaviness that once filled the room. That is not a picture of wealth. It is a picture of restoration. You may not be able to see that entire picture today, but every time you choose prayer instead of bitterness, every time you choose patience instead of giving up, every time you choose faith instead of despair, you are laying another brick in that home, whether or not you live to see it fully completed. Chosen one, this is not a story about becoming successful. It is a story about your family being restored, one quiet step at a time, through the unseen faithfulness you choose today. You do not have to force the people in your home to believe immediately. You do not have to argue in order to prove that you are right. In Scripture, Hannah prayed with such overwhelming sorrow that Eli, the priest, mistakenly thought she was drunk. She didn't argue to defend herself. She didn't offer long explanations so people would understand. She simply continued praying, quietly, until God answered. In His way and in His timing. Chosen one, the same is true for you. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You simply need to continue being who you are, the one who keeps believing, even when those around you do not. I remember a season when I wished I could make everyone in my family believe the way I did. I thought that if I spoke louder, explained more, argued more convincingly, things would change. Instead, the distance only grew wider. Only when I finally let go of that burden, only when I chose to live my faith quietly instead of debating it, did things begin to change. Not because I persuaded anyone, but because my life itself became the testimony. What you are planting today, chosen one, is not only for today. It is for people who have not even been born yet. It is for grandchildren who will one day grow up in a home where peace feels normal instead of rare. You are not simply praying for yourself. You are planting a legacy. There will come an ordinary morning. Nothing remarkable will happen. The sunlight will quietly filter through the window, resting on the table where a warm cup of tea still sends gentle wisps of steam into the air. There will be no urgent text message, no life-changing phone call. Just an ordinary morning. Yet for the first time in a very long while, you'll notice that you can take a slow, deep breath without your shoulders tightening. That is peace returning. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, like an old friend returning home after a long journey. No announcement, no fanfare, simply sitting beside you once again. Chosen one, you do not have to wait for something extraordinary to happen before you are allowed to feel that peace. You are allowed to find it in the smallest moments. A warm cup of tea, a quiet morning, a deep breath that no longer feels so heavy. We've traveled a long road together in this message. From the sleepless nights you couldn't explain, through the lonely evenings in a cold kitchen, to the moment you realized that what you once called failure was actually evidence of quiet preparation. Beginning today, allow the pace of your life to slow down just a little, not because you suddenly have fewer responsibilities, but because you no longer have to carry them all by yourself. Chosen one, there are 3 truths I hope you'll carry with you after this video ends. First, you are the one preparing the way, not because you are stronger than everyone else, but because you chose to believe before others were ready. That calling does not need anyone's approval to have value. Second, what is drawing near for you and your family cannot be forced into existence through anxiety or urgency. It asks only that you remain faithful, patient, and continue living according to what you believe, quietly, if quiet is required. Third, and most importantly, when you wake up tomorrow morning, you do not have to wait for something extraordinary to happen before you are allowed to experience peace. Peace can begin today, right in the middle of the life you're living, because you are no longer carrying it alone. If these words have touched something deep within you today, I'd like to invite you to do 2 simple things. First, leave a prayer or a brief message in the comments below, not to draw attention to yourself, but because someone else may come across it at exactly the moment they need to know they are not alone. Second, if this message is what you needed to hear today, there's a good chance that someone you love, a family member, a friend, is quietly carrying the same burden you once carried. Share this message with them. Perhaps these are the very words they need to hear tonight. Before we close, I'd like to leave you with a simple blessing, one I hope you'll carry with you in the days ahead. May you remain steadfast, not because life has become easier, but because you know you are not alone. May each member of your family, one by one, be touched by the same peace you are beginning to experience. And may you, beginning tonight, sleep deeply, not because every problem has been solved, but because you've finally laid your burden down, if only for one night. Chosen one, you do not have to wait for something extraordinary to happen before you take the next step. You simply need to keep being the person who refused to give up.